Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The Saints are back on the practice field, and they will be back on the playing field for Monday Night Football against Seattle, coming off of their bye. Sean Payton did meet with reporters, and obviously the big story for the Saints coming off the bye is who is going to be available. We know 3 players have come off of IR, Quan Alexander, Marcus Davenport, Will Lutz. That does not, however, mean they're going to play. That means that opens the 21-day window for them to begin practicing and then to return to the active roster on game days within that 21 windows. Now, Sean Payton did elaborate a bit on today's conference call on the players that are expected to come off of IR.
All of that stuff, man, this is a tough week because there's so much going on. And so we have to see how it goes with there's a handful of different guys. There's more guys coming off of the return injured today. We'll have a group more we'll announce. So keeping track of it this week is challenging.
We'll find out, hopefully, shortly. But one thing that appears very, fantastic news for the Saints is it looks like they're going to get Erik McCoy back. Now, remember, McCoy and Armstead never went to IR. If you go to IR, you have to sit at least 3 weeks, and then you can return. But the Saints chose not to put either player on IR, meaning they could return at any point. And at The Spun, which is a Sports Illustrated spinoff, I guess, Chris Rossvoglu, forgive me, I don't know that name. I had a conversation with Erik McCoy, and McCoy told him, quote, "I'll tell you right now, I'm feeling really good about coming back. I don't know really much about the IR thing. That's a little out of my tax bracket. But I'm feeling ready to come back. Mentally, physically, emotionally, I'm ready to." So McCoy has made it clear he's ready to return. And also noted that the date he has circled is Monday Night Football. It said playing in Seattle, the only place apart from the Dome that has the same type of energy and crowd. That's something I'm looking forward to, given that I have to go through from the coaching staff. So it looks like, according to Erik McCoy, he is prepared to return for Monday Night Football against the Seahawks, which would be a massive boost to that offense because, as we've talked about at quite length, when we saw the Saints at their worst this year, it was the week after McCoy was injured, week 2 in Carolina. The offensive line got manhandled in Carolina. Ruiz moved over to center. You had Throckmorton at right guard, and it was just a mess, that game. You get McCoy back and he's healthy. You put Ruiz back at guard. You're better at both spots instantly. That means more of a running game with Alvin Kamara and whoever else might be behind him. That certainly means better protection for Jameis Winston to throw the ball. And as we've mentioned before, you're going up against a Seattle team that is not going to have Russell Wilson, which we cannot underscore enough. The last time the Saints went up to Seattle, they wore those fire color rush uniforms, by the way. It was after Drew Brees hurt his thumb a couple of years ago, and the Saints went up there with Teddy Bridgewater and skunked Seattle. Be curious to see if they could do it again this time, and it looks like they're going to have Erik McCoy. And oddly, McCoy had been such an Iron Man with the Saints. He had only missed 6 snaps in his career since he had 6 snaps in his career since he had been drafted until this. So this is his first extended time away. You know that's got to be killing him, but he's taking the time to get healthy, to get right, and apparently he's ready to come back and play in Seattle. And Sean Payton was also asked about, Seattle and what makes it such a tough place to play up there.
Number one, and make no mistake about it, it's still about the people and the passion. It's the same thing that we love here. It's about the people and the passion. Then you take an owner who literally was thinking about building the perfect stadium relative to acoustics that could be the loudest if it was outside, and that's pretty significant, right? I mean that was something that was thought about, and then lastly, there's none of that really has any bite to it if the team's not a winning franchise, and so then when you have a winning franchise and then you have a passionate fan base, check that box, and then you have a stadium that when it was built they said we were going to try to make it loud, then when those three boxes are checked, you probably have a special place.
Seattle certainly has been that, but not a great start to this season. I did mention McCoy very likely returning for this week. We also talked about how big of a deal it might be for Nick Vannett to return to help with the running game. But Sean Payton was asked about Kamara and that sort of high snap count early in the season, really especially with Tony Jones' injury and the general lack of a passing game, which has necessitated Kamara being more involved.
Part of that's a result or a byproduct of injury. I think that part of that's a byproduct of still having that, game or two where we had like 40-some, 50-some snap. Like there's a couple games where part of it's a byproduct of Tony being down, where, in years past it was Latavius. Before that it was Mark Ingram. In other words, there was a 1-2 punch there, and we're establishing that, I think, as we speak.
We did also learn that the Saints, the old adage is in the NFL you're either getting better or you're getting worse. Nobody is staying the same. Well, there was a report from Josina Anderson, who's now with USA Today, that apparently the Saints made a run at Marlon Mack. Of course, the Saints, they've got Kamara, they've got Dwayne Washington, they signed free agent Lamar Miller, which we discussed, but the Saints tried to make a trade for Marlon Mack and were part of a group of team that made preliminary inquiries into a trade for Mack. Mack's 25 years old. He's playing out the final year of his contract. He's recovering from a 2020 Achilles injury. So because of that injury, he tumbled a bit down their depth chart, but back and healthy and 25 years old. And apparently the Saints just weren't able to get him on the cheap, which is why they ended up going the route of another former Pro Bowler in Lamar Miller. But the Saints are taking their swings. And you can tell this is a team that within the realm of what they have to work with the salary cap, they are trying to continuously and consistently trying to improve that the roster because they think they can make a run. But the biggest improvement that will come from this team is just getting your guys healthy. If you get McCoy back and Armstead and Davenport and Quan and Tre'Quan Smith and, of course, Michael Thomas at the top of that list, Will Lutz, the Saints are going to be a much better team as this season goes along. Someone did also ask me about having the bye in week 6 and having it so early, so now you're going to have to play 12 straight weeks. There is something to that, but it's also worth noting you've got so many core guys on this team that haven't played for the first 6 weeks. So in essence, they kind of took off September and October. So when you get David Onyemata and Michael Thomas and all the guys I just mentioned, they're fresh like the start of the season. So in effect, it's almost like having the bye later in the year because they haven't played. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.